welcome to the Tuesday edition of Waterways, special meeting to talk about the Cole Parkway Marina improvements. Just anybody's interested, we do have a meeting next week on a regular schedule. Next Wednesday, so 7 o'clock. Please feel free to stop by. My name is Brian McFarland. I am the vice chair of Waterways. Fran McMillan is on his way. He's running a little late, so we'll just call this to order. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are going to waive the accepting of the September 6th minutes until next week when we for the regularly scheduled meetings. So I'm going to ask Stephen Moten to introduce our guests and kind of tell us about the Cole Parkway project.
I'd like to introduce Verusian. He is the senior consultant with GEI Consultants out of Bourne Engineering. And he's been working on the Cole Parkway Marina Rehabilitation Project. So,
Floor is mine.
floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming. It's a beautiful evening. Hopefully it'll last for a few more weeks, maybe another month. We've been engaged with the town of Scituate ready to make some certain adjustments and rehabilitation of the existing marina. So my name is Verusian Hagopian. Sometimes they call me Varush, or the very shorter version is VH. And any of the above three will do just fine. I'm a coastal and waterfront engineer. I've been practicing for 40 years, and I love it. That's what I do. I'm a mariner, I'm a boater. I preach what I do what I preach, and I'm part of the entire process. This is our marina across the waterway. There's Stephen's office. And the reason I put this in for reference, and then the existing layout of the marina is not going to change. It's going to stay pretty much it is. And I'll just walk you through step by step in terms of how we want to achieve that. This is a plate. I took it from the U.S. Corps of Engineers. As you have Corps of Engineers, they have designated channels in just about every inner harbors and throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And in this part is an anchorage basin. And it's all part of that designated area. And then they have one plate of this for every community within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's very helpful because it gives you the basic information and so on and so forth. What we did in here, we overlaid our existing marina on that inner anchorage area. This is important because, not physically, from a permitting point of view. Because anything we got to do, we got to put piles or we're going to dredge. We're not dredging in here. I'm saying if we need to dredge, we got to go back to the regulators. And the Corps of Engineers, of course, has a jurisdiction in everything we do, beside the local conservation commission and beside DEP. And I'm going to walk you through all that steps also. And please, if you have any questions, I'm not addressing any of the issues, raise your hand, ask the question. This is an open meeting. I borrowed the plate from the FEMA zone and the elevations. This is important as well because you know we are here, even though we are in the zone AE, and it says the 100-year flood elevation is 16. As I showed you in the harbor, we do get a fair amount of wave action, particularly during nor'easters. And I think Stephen's got some images and some videos on some of the past storms, which the waves come in, you don't have a fair amount of pitching here, and it goes over that low point, because when the water, tidal surge and the storm surge goes up, the water comes higher and higher, this gets inundated. So this becomes all underwater, and then the water wave action will migrate, will come in and hit the marina in this direction. So this elevation is important to us because that's how we compute how high the new pile is going to be. So when the docks are in here, and then the various elevation of the storms, we want to make sure the piles are high enough so they don't float high enough and they disengage off the piles, and we have a problem in our land. And believe me, that's happened before in other places. This is our existing layout. It's not 100% accurate because it was a compilation from various documents that we have. The flotation system, the main dock, and the secondary docks and the fingers are correct. The gangway comes in and lands about right here. And this is our fixed pier and parking lot. Of course, this is our primary access. So this is what's existing, and this is what's going to be proposed. The existing, again, floats. Everything is going to stay the same amount of fingers, the same amount of slips, the same amount of docks, but nothing is going to change. However, we're going to change the location. We are proposing to change the location of the fixed pier. Right now, the fixed pier comes about like that. It's only 8 feet wide and it's 30 feet long. It's fairly small for a marina of this size. So we're saying, and the existing gangway starts from the end of the existing pier and comes down in here. And that gangway is very short. It's only 32 feet. And I'll show you that. And in under current conditions, because of the tidal amplitude we have, average about 9.5 feet, that is not adequate to qualify as minimum ADA accessible ramp. So we're going to have to address that as well. So we are proposing to put a new fixed pier on the side to make it more accessible and open much wider. The proposed size of this is about 16 feet this way and 32 feet that way. So we're almost doubling the square footage of the fixed pier. Why are we doing that? For many reasons. This is really the entrance of this entire marina. You need that to become as a staging area, as an emergency. Somebody gets hurt, pull them up, you pull them out, the emergency vehicles come in. This becomes important for the function and operation and running of the marina. We can put a notification in here, tells you if the weather is good, whether it's not bad, and so on and so forth. It'll function quite a bit. Then by relocating that over there, we gain additional 30 feet to run the new gangway, start from straight there to here, because the new gangway is going to have to be 80 feet long to meet the minimum ADA requirement. So it's almost 2.5 size length longer than the existing. So if we keep that same configuration and we start the gangway from there, we'll end up landing it in there. So that bisects our primary dock area and it doesn't really work very well. So I'm going to walk you through all that. Any questions? Yes, sir.
So the gangway will be fixed to the bulkhead and not to the fixed pier?
Correct.
Okay.
So
the fixed pier will be sort of a platform to the side.
Right.
And the gangway will not be...
You won't come from the fixed pier. It'll be
Okay.
directly from the
It'll be independent.
seawall.
It'll be tied right into the
Correct.
seawall.
Correct.
So the fixed pier, which we don't really need to call fixed pier anymore, it's a platform to support.
Sure.
It's not integral to, or the proposed platform would not necessarily be integral to the operation. Maybe that's not the right
Of
word.
getting access to the
Yes,
marina back
yes.
and forth? Well, it is going to, because right now, you do have a very narrow kind of a sidewalk access area.
Mhm.
If I'm going to design this marina, particularly from scratch, I would give a lot more room right in here. And I would give you, set the building back, so if there is any emergency evacuation, somebody like that, so you can bring an ambulance directly to the point where you're bringing somebody from over there to process them and take them up. In this case, we don't have that, so we want to use the pier to really offset and be particularly play part of that role.
No, and I agree, in theory, that's a very good idea, but an ambulance is unable to get through the other obstructions on the land side. And I think,
The closest they can come is right about here. Otherwise, well, they can come to here, but
Yeah.
they've got to jump the curb. I'll go through it, and again, we'll go back and forth. Yes, please.
So VH, you said it was 80 feet long. What's the width?
5 feet. It's usually 5 feet is the standard, and I'm going to show you a picture. Reason being 5 feet, and some of us able-bodied, we can run down, up and down, or use one hand. But some folks that they really need assistance with 2 hands, 5 feet will give you enough so you'll be able to walk up and down with 2 hands on the rail.
And that means 88?
And ADA, and people in the wheelchairs, they'll have a lower rail at the edge. So there is a double rail, one on the top, one at the lower level, so they'll be able to help themselves up and down. Yes, please.
And so the new fixed pier will have its own new pilings,
Yes.
and we are permitted for that now? Or is that
No,
part of it?
see, this is, we did the assessment,
Yeah.
we did the concept design, and we are working with the town. We submitted our initial assessment report. We're going through review, comments, and so on, so we're finalizing it. After this meeting, I'm going to start the permitting process. We didn't want to start the permitting process until we get everybody's comments and information and see whether we are on the right track or not. However, we've been in touch with the permitting agencies, so everything we are proposing in here doing, it's not going to be a problem for us to deal with. Our next effort, well, I'll come back. I'm going to address permitting in the several slides further down. Would that be okay?
Yeah, another quick question, and you're saying that the actual marina is going to stay exactly the same?
Right.
Right now it floats,
Correct.
and so how do you decide where you're going to put it?
Good question. Right now, we're going to put it exactly where it needs to be in relation to here and in relation to this distance. Permitting-wise, there is a waterway between town marina and the adjacent marina, and that distance is 40.5 feet from tip of that finger to the tip of that finger.
Is that current, or is that what we need to be?
No, that's permitted, actually. It's already on the document. So we want to hold that point. That
45
distance.
feet,
41.
40.5.
40.5.
Right.
We're not there right now, though, right?
No. So our marina, what it does, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's further away. Because our current system is block and tackle anchoring. So the marina does this. It's moving around. And usually when the water comes up at a high tide, that distance gets nice and tight. So you're getting very close to that 40.5 distance. But when the water goes down, you got more slack into the system, so marina begins to meander around. So we will fix it, and we will fix it with the right dimensions, and we will honor that dimension. And we have pretty much a lot of waterways in here. We have no restriction. Of course, we want to make sure that this doesn't get any closer, because we need enough waterway to really accommodate all the movements of the vessel.
One more follow-up question,
Yes.
this maybe for Steve. So you're saying same size marina, all fingers the same size as we have? right
Everything
now?
is, the marina's staying the same.
And is
Same
that by
floats.
choice?
We're not replacing the floats, we're not replacing the fingers.
We're not replacing.
I'd love to.
But we don't have that much.
It's
So,
$1 million.
okay, so we're using the same float, same fingers?
Right.
Got it,
Yes,
got it.
everything's going to stay,
Terrific.
will be the same.
We want to retrofit the same system
Yeah,
and put piles in.
right.
We want to what these dots are. Here's the piles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why are the piles all on one direction? The piles are on this direction because we anticipate the wave actions coming this way. When the wave action comes this way, you don't want to put the piles on the back side. You want to put it on the front side so you don't get the lift of when the wave action comes in and hits that. Why the piles are all on one direction on the secondary piers? Because the harbor master and his crew, he said, I want ultimate flexibility in the future if I want to move things around, because once we drive the pile, that pile is staying there. You're not going to remove the pile. But however, by designing a flexible, removable hoop around it, we'll be able to open them up and disengage. You can take this entire system out and float it, take it away, and in the future, 15, 20 years from now, when those docks are no good anymore or they are deteriorating, you can replace them and bring them back and then re-engage them. So you don't have to touch the pile. The pile's already there. So we're giving you the ultimate flexibility system to be able to move things around. And for that reason, we're really not adding piles on the fingers. Because I'll show you the system. Steven's got railing in here. Let's say he's got two big boats, he wants to put them in. He can literally take that finger and move it in any direction about 3-4 feet. So I have pictures of that. Yes.
Okay, I have 3 questions so far.
Yeah.
The platform area, if it's not going to be attached to the ramp, right?
No, we can, but
Yeah,
there's
but
no need.
if the ramp's going to be on the wall and it's going to be doing this,
Right.
you're not going to be able to go from the platform to the ramp, because when it's at, low tide, it's going to be like this.
Right. If
So
we need to.
is the platform really necessary if we have it attached to the wall? Because over here, we have it attached to the wall,
Right.
and we don't have a setup area. So how many hundreds of thousands of dollars are we going to spend there, and is it necessary?
It's really not that expensive, that platform.
Okay.
It's 32 by 16 feet, and it's going to be mostly a timber structure. We're only going to put 6 piles underneath it to support this vertical.
Okay.
So we're going to run
It's
the cost.
just something to look at when we get to the cost. We have cables right now that go up the side of the ramp,
Right.
and they actually cross to the right side from this picture.
Yeah.
So is that underneath access still going to be the same? And is the gangway going to be,
Coming this way, underneath?
yeah, they actually go against the wall right now and connect to an electrical box up on the right-hand side.
I have pictures.
Okay,
Let me show you
perfect.
the next
My
one.
last question?
Yeah.
What is the time frame for doing these? And the reason I'm asking, and then hopefully we can, when you get your permitting started,
Yeah.
the yacht club is planning on doing pilings also.
Right.
And if we can somehow combine the projects and do mold and demold for one instead of for 2, we could all save a lot of money.
I have all these questions coming up.
Okay, thank
The
you.
next 3-4 slides. Yes, please.
Before you go on to this slide, what is the length of the fingers on the west side of the northernmost float system closest to the neighboring marina?
All of these fingers are 20 feet long. They are standard. Every single one of them. Yeah?
Will the pilings negate having to take the fingers out every season and put them back in?
You can leave them in, you can take them out.
What is the thought process of taking them out and putting them back in from the cost standpoint of what it costs today to take them out every fall and put them back
I
in?
mean,
every
the
spring?
floats themselves, when I took over my first year, we added up the cost to remove the marina and put the marina back in. And I believe it was $23,000 to remove the marina and $22,000 to put it back in. And that was the first year. The second year, we had to start paying prevailing rate, so those rates all went up.
So would you
So-
suggest leaving?
So the marina's gonna stay in the water, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the fingers from the outside, and we're gonna put them in the corral area on the inside, and then we're gonna have de-icers. So the floats all stay in the water.
You can put it right.
They've been doing that up at a lot of different marinas, and we had a gentleman come down from the Metropolitan Yacht Club in Braintree, who's been doing it there for 20 years with great success. He presented last year to the Waterways Commission, and this is the ice is part of the project. It's not part of his portion, but it's the overall part of that project.
Yes, please.
Where the gangway lands on the main float,
Yeah.
from the sketch, it looks a little narrow. What are the, and you have the majority, flips. You have to come down the gangway and then go back to get around to P-Town and up in there. So what's the passage there? What does it need to be for ADA, and what is the passage? Like, what's the...
This is 20 feet wide.
Mhm.
Gangway is only 5 feet.
Okay.
So you still have 7.5 feet on both sides.
And how far does the gangway come down
The
past
the new
float?
gangway ends right there.
What tide?
This is at low tide. At high tide, it will be shorter. No, high tide will be longer. It only goes up and down about 3 feet. Slides in and out 3 feet between high tide and low tide.
So at that,
Because of the angle.
you'll have to, so you have to turn around, and it's a 7.5-foot passageway to get back to each
Right.
marina.
Tell you why the 7.5 foot is reasonable? Because the width of your secondary piers is only 7 feet. So if you can navigate carefully or safely to get into your boat on a 7 foot wide in here, you should be able to come down and do 7.5 foot turn right away over here. So it's not a pinch point. Your pinch point is actually the width of your secondary pier system.
Are the floats, the main floats 20 feet wide today?
Yes.
They are,
These,
okay.
these units are 20 feet by 16 feet each.
Okay,
On the mains.
yeah.
Right.
They're two of the other floats put
Right,
together.
yeah.
These are 7 feet wide, and the fingers are 2 feet wide.
Yeah.
I mean, based on current new standards of design, it's marginal. If I'm going to design a new marina, minimum, I would make these 8 feet, preferably 10, and the fingers 3 feet wide.
Yeah.
Those are what we usually do. But again, we don't have funding and money to really replace that. And the flotation system is still working adequately. What we want to do, we want to do the improvements in a way to fix it. Let's say in the future, a section of this float needs to be replaced, then very easily, without having to go back, pull piles and put piles back in, you'll be able to disengage the system from the pile, and you'll be able to replace it in kind or wider or bigger. That's something else we can think about.
We're probably jumping ahead of your presentation, but just a question about the piles. Are they all the same thickness?
The piles, once we decide, will be the same type and the same thickness.
Every pile, even the far ones up there?
They'll be most likely 12 inch diameter piles.
Yeah.
We have the choice, pressure treated, green hard, steel,
Which has
or,
not, a decision has not been made.
no, we are doing full evaluations of all the options. Or cost is part of it, because one material is cheaper than the other. But we're going to take a look at the practicality, longevity, the maintenance, all that stuff goes into it, and we decide which type of pile we want to use.
The 7.5 feet on either side,
Right.
you said that should be doable.
Yeah.
What's the ADA rule for it?
Well, if this is 5 feet is adequate, 7.5 feet will be.
Will cover the water.
Yes. Going back, going forward. I gave you a list, the primary list of improvements. Remove and replace existing fixed pier. It's literally falling apart. It's holding itself by its boots. So it's time to go. Don't before somebody gets hurt or something like that. Remove existing block and tackle anchoring system. Somebody can use the material. Yes, please.
On that, I'm a commercial fisherman, I fish out of Bend. That removing the existing block and tackle, that's very important. We've all hit it, it's costing thousands of dollars. If there's a rescue going on there or a oil spill, the house has to get in there. You're talking 3-4 feet of water goes out. Maybe granite, stone.
Yeah.
Marina comes out,
Yeah.
it's a real hazard. You know, like you so far, we've taken the personal hit ourselves, several of us.
I agree.
Written checks for thousands of dollars. But we're doing oil spills now, that's involved with that. And because you have personal injuries, it's the boat went out. And if somebody whacks one of those stones, that's the end of the operation. I mean, that number 2 is very important. It's a small marina situation. As far as I'm concerned, that's a big problem.
3 years ago, it cost me $5,000 when I hit one of my props. Similar situation. So, I've been there. We're going to add new piles to fixed location of floats and support the layout. Replace the existing 32-foot long gangway with a new 80-foot one. Upgrade existing electrical feeds. Increase zoning and protect lines to meet latest state electrical code and provide flexibility to operate. We want to give plenty of power zoning to, because Stephen said you weren't going to use the icers. And you don't want to run all the de-icers from one or two or three zones. You want to break them down so they'll be smaller and manageable. If one goes down, not everything is going down. So we are working, he's working with our electrical engineer to be able to give the ultimate flexibility that he needs. Provide flexibility to future modification of layout by getting a reconfiguration zoning established. What's a reconfiguration zone? When we go back and into the permitting process, we are permitting the marina based on the current square footage and all that stuff, and the waterway around it. So essentially, we are permitting, we call it the water sheet, the entire area that the marina sits. Let me take you back a few images to describe to you what's a water sheet. Essentially, all this, the halfway distance between those two coming down, this all what we call is the marina water sheet. And we put calculated lines around it, and when we go, we get Chapter 91 licensing, and we get that license. What does that give him flexibility to do that? If he wants to move the fingers around, he wants to take a piece of that, put it in here, he has ultimate flexibility within that reconfiguration zone to do without having to go back to the permitting process over and over and over again. This is the latest flexibility every marina operator and recreational harbor wants to have that. You actually have one for this marina as well.
DEP actually suggested it as well, because it takes a lot of the aggravation off them. So if you're a marina owner or municipality, you want to move
Yes,
forward,
please.
you have to go back to them today and ask to move it, and it has to go through the process. This way, they agree upon this area, and you have your square footage, so you can kind of move it around inside that square footage.
So VH, I'm sure I'm missing the obvious. Can you go back to the previous slide? The new ramp is going to be 80 feet.
Yeah.
The previous one, sorry, the one that showed your design. The previous ramp was 32.
Yeah.
The new one is 80.
Yeah.
We're coming down one dock length.
The existing one ends there now.
So where's the other 50 feet?
Because it was an old dock to be removed.
Yeah.
And that was 50 feet long?
This is 32, and this is 32. That's 64.
Okay.
So we're adding 16 feet.
So it
And right now,
is a little further or coming
yeah,
out?
the gangway ends there.
The existing gangway ends further back.
Second,
Okay.
up to the end of the second.
Right?
Okay.
Remember, each one of those is 16 feet long. Essentially, what you're doing is you're just pushing the landing just to 16 feet out. And that's why we want it to come directly from the wall. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We want to make access to everybody, make the marina accessible to all.
This is our existing pier. As you can see, it's fairly narrow. I mean, if you have on a weekend, a lot of folks coming in, which is most of the time, a lot of people use the marina in and out, that's a little bit of a bottleneck. And
How narrow is that?
that's 8 feet.
And the new one that's 80 feet long will be 5 feet.
The new one,
The existing gangway is
the
5.
gangway will be 5 feet, but the pier will be 16 by 32.
If we get that approved.
Now, there's another issue. You said, if we put the pier on this side and the gangway is going down, we can make a connection from the pier directly to the gangway. All we have to do is open up a small platform, then you can do that. The question is whether we need to do that or not. That will be subject to the design analysis.
The gangway is going to be doing this, so if they have an opening, it's not going to
Right,
be usable.
but I'll put a 5-foot apron in here, and then do the connection between that apron and the pier, and then hang the gangway at the end of that 5 feet.
Well, then you're moving everything 5 feet further out.
5 feet or 3 feet, anything that gives you that direct connectivity. Yes.
And again, I might have missed, but what was the benefit or the requirement to attach the gangway straight to the seawall versus making this, starting the...
We don't want to land the gangway another 30 feet into the middle of the primary pier.
Because it needs to be 80 feet?
Yes.
It has to be 80 feet.
It has to be 80 feet. Minimum length has to be 80 feet to meet ADA requirement. Because if we have the tide on this side, we got our average about 9.5 feet, and our maximum spring tide gets much as about 11 or 12 feet.
Is that to minimize the up and down?
Right. So the new gangway, it's going to be a lot more friendly than the existing gangway, because right now, to get that distance at a shorter run, the slope at low tide is very steep.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Two things. The ADA compliance, is that something that is being forced upon us at this point in order to do this project?
Well,
Do we have to do it, or is it something we're just opting to do?
I think it's a smart, whether it's being forced or not, I think it's a smart thing to do. I mean, it's a public marina. It should be ADA compliant.
under Massachusetts law, you have to provide ADA accessibility to all public facilities. And marina is not any different from that.
I'm not sure how to operate now if we have to be ADA compliant.
Well,
Because it's grandfathered.
the minute you start improvements, then you got to do it.
That's all.
Right. You can stay, you say, I'm grandfathered under the own rules, as long as I'm not changing anything. But the minute you start improving things, then you got to have to be compliant in everything.
The other question I had was, half of this marina is in 4 feet of water, the other half is in 10 feet of water. Does that make any difference to the project at all?
No.
Because there's a dredging cut that goes straight down the middle of this marina.
You know, the pile design is not going to make a difference. So here's our gangway. See, it lands on the first floor, first unit. The newer one, it's going to land over here,
That's the third floor.
That's the second floor.
second floor.
The first floor is...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you got plenty of room to do that. Worst comes to worst, if we need to make things even better, we put a little triangular bracket in here and give them a lot more room to make that work.
Really?
Little details like that, we can always make it work. Here's your existing gangway. I gave you the shot so you can see all the utilities that running, coming down underneath the pier, all the stuff. They're not very well organized right now. When we put the new gangway coming in, we will either hang it from underneath, or we create some J-bar, or we create a separate ramp for all the utilities. Then we can hook them up from the top, we can hook them up in here, and bring them down and redistribute. And Stephen, when he commissions the marina, he disconnects anything anyhow, everything in the winter, he connects them back in the, when the spring comes in.
We actually have an electrician.
Somebody.
Well, if you're going to be, excuse me, if you're going to be running de-icers, you're not going to be disconnecting electricity.
No, but it's still, everything will still be removable, so if in the future we had to disconnect and move a section of float away, put a section of float in, that's why we're trying to make it so that it's
Your
work with it.
Your summer load is 10 times as what your de-icers will require to run.
I think it's very important that this gets a lot of engineering, so it's done better than it is now.
It better be.
Because you've had a lot of problems. But this shouldn't be something that's, oh, we're going to use J-hooks, or we're going to use, it needs to be looked at, and it needs to be done right.
You can't use J-hooks.
We have specialty electrical engineers that they work with us in the marine environment and gangways and all that stuff, so.
He's actually talking about putting
Special rack.
another box and these specific hangers. It almost looks like a ladder system that looks like it moves. So,
So this, our pier, and there's our gangway. Look at that. That gangway is got very robust underneath structure because this constitutes an old design to make it structurally capable to kind of hold itself. This is acting as a truss from the bottom. We don't design gangways this way anymore. We make them very narrow and thin. We take the railing and we design the railing as the truss to be able to give you the strength. So I'll show you a picture. This is what our new gangway will look like. Straight. See how thin it is in the bottom? You have the top rail. You have the intermediate rail for ADA, sitting in a chair, handicap folks. And we're going to add the screening so children running in and out, they're not going to be able to fall on the side. Because the code requires any opening in between rails, it's got to be less than 4-inch diameter sphere to be able to squeeze through it, which is about the size of a small child's head.
Paige, how long is that run that's right there?
80 foot. That's exactly 80 feet.
Okay.
Here's the connections. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea, the flexible system that you have. This is your secondary pier, and there's that rail. So essentially, you can take that finger and you can slide it. You slide it this way, you can slide it that way, and reconnect it. See, you got about 1 foot, or I believe these are 1 foot intervals. So it gives you a flexibility to accommodate the type of vessel that you have. Now we come back to the seawall. This is our existing seawall. These units are precast units, precast concrete units. They are sitting on riprap base, stone, and some of the riprap needs the repairs. See, a lot of them are spalling and falling off and so on and so forth. The good point, well, this is the seawalls falling apart. Not really. Each one of those units weigh about 10 tons. We computed the size. So we like the massiveness in it because it was designed as a gravity wall. However, because of the exposure to the salt water, the concrete is saturated with chloride. Once concrete gets saturated with chloride, the inside reinforcing steel begins to rust, and steel rust expands a little bit till it gets swollen. So you're getting a lot of cracks and so on and so forth. So these need to be, this is one of the worst ones. These are some of the effervescents, as you can see. So these can be sandblasted, cleaned, and refaced with epoxy mortar to really extend the life of that structure. The question becomes, how many linear feet of this wall we're going to fix? We don't know yet. It's all going to be subject to our first bulk of money we have to fix things. And the way we want to do it, we will design our base. Once we design the whole thing, we do the cost estimate, then we decide how much money we have and how much that money, what can pay in terms of priorities that we want to do. Once we establish our priorities and we peg it based on existing funding, and then we say, okay, once we go to bidding, if the bids come favorable and we get more money in our hand, then we will have series of options set up. Then we'd exercise option 1, option 2, and option 3 as part of that project. And if that doesn't do it, then you will have the engineering documentation. 2-3 years down the road, you get additional funds or additional money, you can go back and then fix the wall. So we will prioritize in terms of what needs to be done from the maximum to the minimum based on the budget that we have to deal with.
Question.
Yes, please.
Can those precast sections be taken out and replaced one at a time?
Absolutely. Yeah. They come in this way. In the back side, they have actually quite a bit of batter. So that's what, at the base, they are 5 feet wide at the base, and that's why it gives them their size. Here's another image, and you can see the deterioration is gone quite a ways to the length of the wall. And we have a couple of sections in here, and we see no use for it because they just kind of stuck them over there because there's no wall to it. Maybe they did it, they want to retain some of that riprap from spilling down this way. So repairing that wall becomes, we go back and then chink all the voids, pack them in with stone, and put a little bit in front of them to gives it the passive pressure that we need to prevent any further unraveling of the stone. So it's not a big deal, but it's a cost item that needs to be done.
Are you saying like gravel, or are you saying floor will fill?
Where, in front of it? No, no, no. No, you gotta put riprap. What we do,
Yes, or floor will fill
yeah,
or stone?
we put stones and we chink them with smaller stones, so you pack it. So that way it interlocks and doesn't blow up. There we go, permit. Of course, we can't do anything without the permit. Our first process is going to be, we're going to file notice of intent for local conservation commission. The minute you file with that, state DEP gets notified, they become part of the process, then we get our order of conditions, which states exactly what we need to do and what and so on and so forth. Then we need to secure Mass DEP water quality certification, part of it, when we're going to prepare Mass CCM consistency statement, then the Chapter 91 waterway license, and then we're going to go back, we're going to do Chapter 91 waterway license reconfiguration zone. Why do we want to do this two separately? Chapter 91 licensing always takes long time. Takes 6 to 9 months to get that done. Unfortunately, time-wise, we don't have that luxury. So to get the reconfiguration zone, it's going to take the full 9 months for us to achieve that. So we want to do it in 2 stages. We want to go ahead and modify the existing waterway license so we can do it faster, get us ready for the spring so we can get the work done before the 2018 season starts. While we are doing that, then the configuration zone can be an amendment to the existing license that we can file later. We're doing this because of the schedule. It's going to add a slightly low cost, but it's very incidental to the second filing an amendment rather than wasting 6 months waiting for the license to happen. Because we can't start the work without getting the license. And then we got the federal permits, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers general permit in Section 408 review. Then with the permit waterway between the town, the marina, and the marina at mill water is 40.5 feet. So we'll hold that distance. Any questions? Yes, sir.
How do we arrive at that 40.5 feet between the 2 lines?
It was on the permit documents. It's already there. And we measured it. When we measured it, the distance was 45.5 feet because our marina meanders. So it was actually a little wider.
But that 40.5 feet is from finger to finger. Is there a limitation on what's that boats can go in there?
The common practice is you don't want to violate, you don't want to put too big of a boat that's hanging outside the fingers.
On either side, either marina?
On either marina. And our marina, the town marina, I'm your consultant, is abiding by that thing. We've got very small boats on the other side, so none of the boats are even sticking outside the thing. Schedule. You asked me about schedule. We finalize the work by end of October. We still got to do geotechnical investigation, so we know what is the depth of the overburden so we can design our pile penetration. And we can't do that until the marina closes in about 2 weeks. Once the marina is closed, all the boats are there, we're going to bring our barge and equipment, and we're going to run about 25 or 30 probes in all the locations where we're going to put the piles, and they'll tell us how much depth of overburden we have. The overburden is the depth of the soil where we're going to stick the pile in it, and it's going to hold it. So when the load is applied on the pile, we'll be able to hold the marina and the boats during the wave action and the storms. You need to know that. File the permit and get approval. That's going to take us from now until January. Get it done. 90% design documents for review in January. 100% design documents January 25. We want to start the bidding. We need 20 days to get the bids done, award, and start the construction March, April, encroaching into May. I think the marina opens in May?
May 15th.
May 15th. So it's a tight window. We're going to try to do it. And it all hinges on the permitting process. We can't control that, unfortunately. Yes?
Yes, Steve, how do the grants that you have applied for fit into all of this stuff too with timing?
We have the money in place.
It's all sitting here ready for
All sitting there ready to go.
Thank you.
How
Yes,
many
sir.
more years do you think those docks will last?
Fine.
How many more years do you think those docks will last, the existing docks?
Well, if everything is how much maintenance you put in. I did get the copy of the design of the docks. They were really, the framing was designed very robust. I'm glad to see that, because once we take the block and tackle out of it, we're going to poke a hole in it, put the pile in it, so we don't have to do additional framing to the construction. So you have very good underneath. The framing of the docks are in good shape. What does deteriorate most is your connections and your deck.
Also, we've been taking the marines in and out of the water every year. That has not been helping things. Because every time we crank them up, they're flexing things a little bit. So
With the reasonable maintenance from what I've seen, where I've seen other places and all that stuff, you can squeeze easily, you can't do a lot of this. I'll come back to you.
So, here we're at the end of September, you're saying you're file permits and get approvals by, 3 months from now, January. Obviously, that's the big, this seems really, really tight in my opinion. Because if I'm renting a slip, I want that marina to be open mid-May.
it will be
Oh,
open.
yeah, it is going to be open one way or another. We're not going to jeopardize the opening of the marina.
Right, so, even if you select a contractor early March, you could still be in a really difficult winter and they may not start, The question is whether you start the contract or not, right?
Well, if we find out that we can't accelerate the schedule, and it's going to get us in bind in terms of opening the marina, then we can say we'll do it in the fall. We got everything ready, the work is ready. Once the marina gets closed, then you got plenty of time to do it in the fall.
And the second question, you talked about a collar around each piling attached to the mains or the sub-mains, whatever you call them. But then you just said you're drilling a hole.
It's going to be, you take the planks out. Once you plate the planks, the floats have frames underneath them.
So they are within, so the pilings are within the mains.
That's correct. We want to put the piles inside rather than on the outside and put a hole in it. Because once you put it outside, it really begins to constrict the space to be able to close in. It doesn't
Right,
really-
so it's not a hoop around, it's just a hoop covering,
Right.
sealing that.
Do you have a diagram of that proposed design that you can show us?
Right here. Unfortunately, it's not on the thing yet because this is work in progress. These are design sketches. These are original design sketches. You can see them. They're going around.
In this,
So there'll be 4 sides with 4 rollers, and then there'll be a gate on one side so that it can be removed.
And where are those on either side, where are the pilings on either side of the ramp? That's going to be about 20 feet into the main.
It's not going to interfere.
There are no pilings in that.
No, there is.
That is one of the on the corner. I'll show you after, how it go back. Yes, sir. I'm gonna come back to you.
Couple questions.
Yes.
One on the electrical, is the plan to upgrade all the feeds to the marina at that same time? To clean up what's happening?
The electrician, the electrical engineer hasn't come back with his final design, what's going on.
Yeah.
I went down to the Newport Boat Show and I met with people from Eaton who make the power pedestals. And I spoke with them, and there's a kit that we can take out the existing circuit breaker system we have and the outlets that we have and replace it and retrofit that system with GFCI receptacles, which make every power pedestal individual, so every 30 amp or 50 amp would have its own GFCI radius. And then we also see, we've been talking about for the main conductors, putting a GFCI that was not quite as sensitive, because we don't want the whole marine to fail because your boat has an issue.
Right.
So the GFCI that comes out the power pedestal would trip off your boat much quicker than out the dock. But if somebody puts screw into it, something got caught, it would trip off.
So as part of this design, then you'll be looking at replacing the feeds going down to the marina as well?
Possibly, yes.
Okay, because those are getting to be.
Is there enough money for that though?
My other comment,
Sorry.
1 second, my other comment is, I would say, look really closely at the main flows that are there, the 5 main flows, because you got a lot of cupping going on in the middle, and it appears that there's some structural damage from.
There's some issues in those main flows.
Right.
If you go along the edges, you walk, you can actually see where they're coming from.
Right, so my point would be, instead of trying to retrofit, I don't know what's going to cost to do that to those existing flows, I would recommend trying to get flows that kind of are built to that, replace those as a step as you do the first part of the project.
We can do all of that. It's all subject how much money we have, whether we have adequate budget to do all that stuff. Like what I explained, we can set it up as option 1, 2, and 3, 4. As our money goes further, then we could engage those other ones.
Yeah, I think part of one of those boats broke away this year, at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and that was, we had lost 2 chains.
Yeah.
And there was a wind, and 2 chains were on the same side, holding in the same direction. And we lost it, started twisting it.
Right.
And we were able to get chains back on it and put a stone back in place and get it hooked back on. We're trying to do, the whole reason behind this project is to secure the marina where it's permitted to be secured.
Right.
So that it's not shifting all over the place. So when we get wind and weather, the marina is just going up and down and not up, down, side to side. Making it more accessible so that any person, whether they're, able-bodied or, wheelchair bound, that they can get down to the marinas, get down to the floats.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just want to clarify your Chapter 91 permanent strategy. So if I understand you correctly, you're going to seek a minor modification for the pilings only, and then file an amendment to your existing waterways license with a fixed pier, as well as for the reconfiguration zone?
We're going to do, we are allowed to do modifications to the initial Chapter 91. And we're going to tell them, government does not like segmentation. Segmentation says...
Oh, no, I'm very familiar with the Chapter 91 process. But I think you've got problems, but that's what discussion.
We already talked to them, and we are working with them to be able to do that. Yes, sir. Question you did.
No, I think Keith was ahead.
2 questions.
Yeah.
How much money did you spend this year when you had to replace a couple of small cables? We replaced all those cables? How are we going to get that money?
No, that's why we're looking to, maybe just small sections of the cable that we have to replace. It's not all the cables down the docks. That's not what we're talking about.
Because that's huge money.
Yeah.
It's probably as much as you spend it now.
Yeah.
And the second question is, if the floats are 7 feet wide, and we're going to take off 16 inches, say, maybe 18 inches for the pilings and the hoop around them, or the
Well,
four-side setup?
Yeah.
Is that still ADA compliant when you're taking off that much and you only have 5 feet and you have
Well, you still have the
cleats on this side?
You still have the pedestals in place, and it's gonna take up about the same amount as the pedestal.
So, Steve, we'll go into that, where that hoop comes through the dock and you have the pedestals. I think you're going to need to really watch people's dock boxes because it sounds
Dock
like...
boxes may have to move.
Yeah, well, we may have to move or may have to be, yeah, might have to put a restriction inside it because it really has now have a lot of things on the float. It's done that, what, 7.5 foot float.
I mean, some of the dock boxes are really too big. If you go down those docks today, it's, even out here, it's restricted to the some of the docks. Because they've just grown and grown and grown and grown.
Come back. There was another question there?
I mean, I think you already answered the question, but it had to do with where the placement of the pilings are, and you're saying on the walkways going down. And they'll all be on the same side, or will they alternate sides?
We need to do them all on the same size, because if you want to disengage them, you can't put them on both sides. You have them on one side.
And do you have any estimate as to the number of pilings that will actually be going in?
Yeah, I have, I don't remember the number. They're all marked out. Yeah, they are all.
6?
No.
A few more than 6. 20?
I mean, as excited as everybody is to get this project done, I see this schedule as being, number one, very aggressive, but also limiting financially because there are only a certain set of contractors that might be interested in this job. And saying you need to do it, you know, you're getting bid documents in February and then you've got to do it by May. Maybe some of those contracts are already busy. I'm thinking that it makes sense to do it next fall, and say you do it by the end of, you know, starting mid-October next year, and then you have till May of 2019 to get it done.
The challenge will be procuring the number of the piles that we need.
Procuring them?
Procuring them. So that means, because there's always a time, right? The time you tell the contractor to go, and he or she needs to order the piles. Sometimes you wait 30 to 40 years.
That's a point of value.
That was a fraudulent step.
Well, procuring only the piles, but the actual contract. I mean, just his ability to,
It is tight, I agree with you.
doesn't make sense in my opinion.
No, if we put it off and we say 2019, it could turn into 2020.
It would, I mean,
No.
Steve, you have a grant, right? You have a
We have a grant.
for this. And did we learn anything from Kenny DeVal and Pier 44, the way they set it up? And did we learn anything from them and on their permitting and how long it took? And
Well, you have another project going on down in Howard right now with similar issues. The Howard Town Marina.
you got a health problem?
We work on, at a given time, about 4 or 5 different facilities like this. We always in and out with the regulators, we meet with them on a weekly basis. At a given time, we're working on about just our small office, not our main office. If I include our main office, we work only 25 or 30 projects a given time. So we're always in and out, we talk to them, yes, Paul.
Erosion, one of the things that I think that was mentioned that would affect our design is the access from the pier, fixed pier to the gangway. Can we talk about that some more? I mean, is that important to people or not? Because that's one of the, we need to know that as we leave here tonight so we can proceed. Somebody brought it up, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to come back when we advance the schematic design. When we file for a local chapter, local conservation commission, there is a public hearing with it as well. At that point, the design will be advanced quite a bit. So we will have those details in there. And if we feel that we need to have access directly, all I have to do is just do a low 3-foot platform and just do that quick turnaround. Is that necessary? I mean, it can be done, but do we need that? You guys are going to decide that.
Yeah, in your contract, there is the 50% design review. So certainly bring that back to the interested parties.
Just to Mike's point a few minutes ago, though, and I don't know what the dollar associated is with that platform, but if we're going to attach it to the wall, And the idea was to do that for the amount of space that it's gonna come out. To spend the money on that ramp when we could spend money on a couple of floats, which I know are on their last leg right now. There's probably better money spent on the float than it is on building a platform that's not even attached to the ramp and it's just kind of sitting off on the side. But I guess it's something we can look at when we see the cost and
I just don't know
and the
how
whole
much
setup.
sense it makes to start cutting into those existing flows to put.
Oh, I agree. There's two of them that probably shouldn't even be out there.
Yeah.
And there is a grant being worked on to fund the gangway. Bob Vogel, the building inspector,
I'm working on it.
is working with Steve on a grant to fund
Pay
that.
for the new gangway.
For the new gangway and so forth. So, and we do have a grant from Seaport Council. They were the same ones that gave us a grant for the pier that we rebuilt. They're decent people to work for, and they've been very, very good to the town of Scituate. So we just have to proceed a little further before we can start talking about costs.
Do you have an estimate on your current design now?
We haven't run the numbers yet. I mean, we are developing the design, as you can see, the sketches. We have gone back and forth because we still, I can't give you an accurate cost until I do the geotechnical investigation because I don't know how long those piles are going to be. The pile's going to be the most expensive part of doing the marina.
So then when do you think the beginning of November you'll have your 50% design and an accurate cost?
Absolutely.
Accurate estimate, I'm sorry?
Yes, yes.
For everybody's benefit, what's the total dollar amount approved right now? The total grant, the total amount the town has approved?
$702,700.
Is the grant plus what the town has approved? So $702,000.
I'm sorry, $700,700.
So that's the grant plus what the town has approved. Does that include the engineering?
Yes.
Okay, so the engineering is embedded in that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's total.
Is that an amount that you feel that we can do this project within?
We can do most of it.
Well, what can't you do?
Well, I mean, the wall, I showed you, I mean, that wall can take a lot of fixing, but you can postpone that. I mean, originally, even when we negotiated the thing, we said we're going to look at the wall, but we didn't discuss whether we're going to initiate repairs to it. At a minimum, at the area where we're going to put the fixed pier and the gangway, that needs to be fixed. It's got to be. We don't want to do the other work without fixing that. But the question we can do, how much of it, depends how much money we have. Once we run the numbers, we'll know.
Is that your last slide?
But
Is that your last slide?
the slide is there.
Okay. Can you go back to the picture of the whole marina,
Yes,
please?
absolutely. This one?
Yeah, that'll work, that's fine. That's actually the best one. Okay, since we're opening this can of worms that we've opened right now, and with full transparency here, all those boats are in the federal channel, am I right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So are we doing anything to fix that? No, I'm talking about the ones on moorings too.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers permit the marina as it sits today.
They know that.
They know it's there.
Okay, what about all the mooring ones?
Oh, this is actually,
That's
this is anchorage area. So it's a dead end
They know it's
channel.
It's not a fairway, that's the
Right.
end.
Okay, so my other question is, I know it's too close to that other marina, or,
Well, not
There's-
according to the measurements that we took.
okay, well, I guess all I'm saying is, I know it's been an issue in the past, so if we're gonna go through all this, let's just make sure we have it right and we fix it the right way now, instead of having to go through more.
The marina's gonna go exactly where the Army Corps and Mass DEP, Division of Waterways, says it has to be.
Okay.
We were gonna follow the same rules as everyone else.
We have copy of their permits. It's public information. They have reconfiguration zoning, which goes 50% right through that.
We took the measurement of
Middle of that
4.5
wall.
feet off their permit.
So when we do our configuration zoning, it goes cheek to jaw with that line they've already established. That doesn't mean that we're gonna encroach further, but we're gonna hold that 40.5 feet separation. Yes, sir.
Just one other question about the attachment of the docks to the pilings, right?
Right.
So we talked, I saw your diagram,
Yeah.
so I agree the best way to do it is to really have it integral into the flow, right, and have that gate on there. But when we're dealing with existing docks that are there, is there any reason why we wouldn't chain and rollers to the pilings
It takes up,
until the marina gets replaced over time?
you end up, if you look out here, you have to move every boat out another foot and a half. And then the boat, the marina, the way we have it set up now, on
Yeah.
the inside is tight, it's tight in there
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah.
And then your boats, you're not gonna want to have that piling in your slip.
Right.
You're gonna wanna have a piling free,
Yeah.
because you don't want your swim platform, your transom, the bow of your boat banging into it.
I'm just concerned about what the cost is gonna be to retrofit the dock to make it work.
Exactly. You're
Actually-
running into the frame of the dock.
When I looked at the design, the frame, it's fairly robust. They didn't use 2x4s. They used 4x12s and 4x4s. For a structural engineer, that's heavy. That's a lot of meat. There's good bone system in there that I can attach my stuff to. It's when they use 2x4s and they rot underneath it, then you open it up, there's nothing there. 4x4s is great material. Very easy to pour up. So I don't anticipate doing a lot of retrofit. Just opening it up, putting the hoop in, we selected one, fits perfectly. Just provide a backroom there, 2 angle iron, and in the front, removable, and should be fine.
Is that something you're gonna do with, provide a sketch on of what the gut of the dock is, either the small piers and the main piers?
Absolutely.
Just to show.
We have to.
Yeah, I'd be curious, it'd be
gotta
just
provide-
very interesting to see that.
We gotta do all the
Is that gonna
details.
be at 50%?
Which
is that-
one? In terms of,
When you can present that?
yes, absolutely. Yeah. We will have, see, to design the easiest part of this entire thing. The challenging is the permitting process, the schedule. Yes, sir.
So what's the risk here of putting in pilings? And I know we don't have the money for it, and we don't want to go for the permitting for it right now, of putting pilings in before we dredge. I mean, and are you doing any analysis for the concept of when we might need to dredge? So you're not doing any of that analysis?
Dredging is not part of my vocabulary in this agreement.
I agree. However, in your experience, putting in pilings before we dredge, what's that?
We can remove the floats.
That's right.
And dredge around them.
You can disengage the floats.
And that's what we'll have to do, obviously. I mean, we're gonna need to do that at some point.
Seaport isn't interested in hearing the word
I understand
dredge.
that, and they've given us the money. So I'm just asking the engineer in the, we have the money, they don't wanna.
We don't have money for dredging.
I
They're
understand.
not giving us money for dredging.
Dredging is a whole can of goodies by itself.
I agree.
And you get interrupted with dredging quite a bit. The question is, the impacts, what are you gonna do with the dredging material? Is the material clean? Can you repurpose it?
I understand all that.
All that stuff.
My
is complicated.
my issue is putting in pilings before we dredge obviously increases the cost of dredging.
Well,
Right,
right
dredge
now-
around the pile.
Right now, you can't dredge with block and tackle, because you're gonna run into obstacles. Imagine
All the stone.
you cut a suction head, you
Right.
have chains and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be easier to dredge around the pile rather than to dredge now with a system you got.
Right, but here's the concept of, and again, I don't think this is happening during 2018 summer, in my opinion, but, you know, we are gonna take out all the blocks before we put in the pilings.
But it has
If we had that
simultaneous.
Right.
You can't take the blocks, how are you gonna hold the marine? They gotta do it together. You gotta
What
do it.
what I'm saying is, in the timing situation, if we had the money for dredging, could the permits for dredging take a year?
Easily. We got,
Think of how long we've been trying to dredge the South River. I mean, it's not realistic to do this, to dredge before we do this. It's not realistic.
Where are we gonna get the money from?
You don't have the money, you don't have the money for put together the permits.
Well, I don't think it's on the priority list for dredging either.
And I have no idea. When was the last time we dredged? Anybody know?
15 years ago?
That's 15 years ago, when they put that federal acreage depth in there, which is,
well, if you wait 15 years, the sea level's gonna rise about a foot.
Yes.
I just say that they had 2 years.
Guys, spend the money.
I'm not just a fair question tonight. I think the project looks great. Sounds like we got the money to start it, to go forward. Do you anticipate an increase to the holders of the slips this season, or, I say this season?
That's not something that, you know, the consultant talked about it last year. We haven't, a lot of ways talked about it since.
But this project has nothing to do with the increase, it would be, you have the money to do it.
Well, we have this $700,000 to do this project.
Start it.
Yeah. The pilot,
Well, I said it wasn't a fair
$700,000 is going to be for engineering and for pilings.
Right.
And then I'm getting, hopefully the grant to replace the gangway itself. The rest of it, we
Comes later.
We got to get the pilings done. We got to get the ramp done. Then the next thing is the wall as part of, you know, the small section where it where the new gangway attaches, that's important. As we go further down the wall, you know, if we have enough money, we'll continue. Is priorities. Pilings are first. We're not going to fix the seawall and not put in the pilings. We're not going to dredge and not put in the pilings. The pilings have to be done first. Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just, whatever we have left, one step at a time. Is that a question here, Steve?
I just have to respectfully disagree with you on the floats. There's no 4x12s on those floats, and there's no 4x4s on those floats. So make sure next time you go over and look, I've taken them apart, I've put them all back together. So I know there isn't. There may be 3 2x12s stuck together, but that's not a 4x12.
Well, that's, I was going by the drawings. When we do,
No, it's not what's over there.
when the marina is available for us, when the boats are gone in about 2 weeks, when we're doing the geotechnical investigation, we'll have plenty of time to get into all that stuff and confirm all the.
Just gonna, to Mike's point again, you're just gonna have to reinforce every one of those areas, and it's gonna cost extra money, because that's not what's out there.
Well,
So you'll find, you can find out when you get on.
we do anticipate better than some.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's just sort of.
Do you have any idea how many slips would be impacted by the pylons if they were not built into the dock? Again, are we talking 12, 30?
The number of slips are not going to change. Most of the
No,
pilots.
but I'm saying.
No, he's saying
If
how
we
many-
did put them in, if we put them outside.
35.
35?
Yeah, per pilot.
Yeah. There's 35 in the slip area, not in the main floor. At least that's what I count, like 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
If I read it, I think
That's a big number.
We're starting to pack in a lot of, you know, wall slips.
Yeah, I was trying to read it from here, I think it was 35.
Yeah, I thought it was something more manageable.
approximately 42.
42 pilings.
yes, sir.
Is this something that is a PDF that we could get, the commission could get access to?
Steve's already got a copy of that.
So Stephen, could we get access to that?
We certainly may.
Yes, ma'am.
So back to the gangway that's coming down. You're saying that we're gonna have 7.5 feet on each side. Where is that set up? Because when we come down the gangway, we go right.
Okay.
And as we go right, we've got like a foot to make that turn and come
Well,
around.
because the marina's
shifting all the time, right?
Everything's moving around
So
all
it'll
the
just be
time.
that it'll stay
It's
stationary
staying-
on that one
it's
spot?
just- The marina's gonna go up and down, it's not gonna go
So
side to
that,
side.
so that 7.5 feet is there now, it's just we never seem to see it on that side.
Right now, the gangway is not really centered.
Right,
with the main,
it's over there,
and it
okay.
moves in and out.
Okay, so this way it'll stay.
Right.
Oh, so that'd be
And
much
there is
better.
a very slight, easy solution to that. If that corner is a little pinch, we add a little, triangle or gusset clip. That gives you another couple of feet to be able to come around and move around. Those are easy solutions.
And so then you're saying too that the angle that we're gonna be coming down on it
That'd be much
will
better.
be much better. All right.
Yes, sir.
Right, I think in general, the concept here is excellent. You put pilings in, the first thing you have to do to get your house in order. It'll be a perfect world, we can start ripping up seawalls and dredging all at once, that's not gonna happen. First things first is pilings. Once you get your house in order, then you can start to work from there. You're gonna have a lot less wear and tear in your utilities because the ramp's not lifted up and down as high. So the general slope carry is gonna be much better for that. So by not having to replace that stuff as much and run into trouble, you're gonna save money. By not having to pop the piers out every winter, putting a bubbler system in, it's just gonna keep increasing, therefore enabling us at some point sooner than later with hope to put new docks and to continue this on. But you can't do it without starting something, and that's the plan.
Gotta walk before we run.
Easy.
If we don't put the pilings in until spring, what about this winter? We put the bubblers in?
Now, that marina, our plan is to break down the marina in 10 float sections, float them over here, tie them off to the marina here, and then we're going to de-ice this marina. We're going to take the fingers that are over there out, and then we'll go back into the parking lot. There'll only be, there's about 100 fingers, so total, because we take off every time, 50, instead of, I think it's about 175 million passengers.
Is there any kind of insurance consideration for making that?
They're insured now through the town, and insured Nancy's already looked into that. Both I can check.
Yes, sir.
One last question. It sounds to me that that is an ambitious plan, that grants are in place, so there'll be no penalties if we don't use the money at a specific time. So in other words, we have the luxury to carry it a little further out.
We could probably carry it. They want us to spend the
Right.
money
Oh, there'll be a slight
in
penalty.
the time frame that we have.
And I guess
So,
there's,
Marshfield ran into it with their building.
Yeah.
He had the same grants, and he got put off for a year or 2 years. They don't want you to get put off, they want you to
Right.
spend the money.
I ran into that with my roof down there. I'm getting a slight penalty because I didn't institute it this summer. However, the luxury I got was the bids were better because they were further out. In other words, they weren't under a time constraint. They didn't have to build overtime into them. They didn't have to source product right away, so it gave us a little flexibility. So it was kind of a
But we do have a time.
That's what I thought, right.
Well, this is the end of my presentation. I'll be happy to ask and answer any questions. Next time, hopefully, when I see you, we'll have a lot more detailed design, advance, and we certainly will be the permitting process at that point. And we've already been contacting a lot of the permitting agencies. In about a week or so, an hour, we're going to invite the agencies down here. Hopefully, they'll come to the call the interagency meeting. Sometimes they come to the site, sometimes they don't, but we're going to start the process in meetings. Yes,
So
sir.
what is the town conservation commission, what is their interest in this?
The conservation is the wetlands bylaws and all that, and they are the state's arm of the local process to give you the permit.
So is that the first
Yes.
approval that we need?
Well, when you file for the conservation commission, DEP gets a copy of the filing, you're notified, they work together, And when we get our order of conditions, they give us certain rules and regulations that we gotta abide for and so on and so forth. By the time we file, we advertise, we get our hearing, then we get our order of conditions. The whole process takes as much as about 2 months.
A couple things, do you think you're gonna have your 50% design ready for our November meeting, it's on the first week of November?
When we go for the permits, we like to have at least 35 to 40% design. And we don't like to take the design too advanced because when you enter the permitting process, sometimes you get pushback from them and you might need to make 2 adjustments. We don't want to go back and undo what we did and redo it. That gets costly. So as soon as we get our initial interaction with the permitting agencies, we get their reading from them and see whether they're going to support what we are presenting or they got issues with it, then we'll adjust our approach and we should have our 50% design by Thanksgiving.
By Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
So then are you available to come back and present that to us in our
Absolutely.
January meeting, excuse me, in our November meeting?
December.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you email us this presentation?
Yeah, he has it already emailed it to him, and Paul's got it as well. So I'll be happy to, I have it on a jump drive here as well. Yes, sir.
In respect to the ADA compliance, the 80-foot gangway would bring us, if I understand correctly, as compliant as we could be.
That's the minimum.
Okay, so we would not technically be 100% compliant. If I understand it correctly, you cannot make a marina 100% compliant. But if you've made your best effort, are we technically compliant?
The best effort will require a barge and a double scissor.
Right.
And that,
Okay, yeah.
and that by
Crisscross
itself costs
gangways,
about
yeah.
$700,000.
Yeah, that's probably not in the budget on this.
Right.
But if we have made every reasonable effort, and this will be very compliant, but not, I don't know if that's not the right term.
We're doing,
We will have made our best effort. Does that bring us within compliance?
Yes, sure. Because most other marinas that we design, within the 9-foot to 12-foot tidal range, we came to the conclusion a long time ago that 80 feet is the reasonable thing to do, the minimum reasonable.
And that's the average. So we do occasionally have much lower and higher tide.
Yes.
So, but having made the best effort does make us, is there a provision in the code that allows?
Well, the code, the national code is about that thick. I remember in the 80s when I started, when I worked with the city of Boston, we started looking into the access to the marinas, and this whole ADA issue came about. We experimented with short ramps and manageable kind of elevator that rides around back and forth. They didn't work with the beats because they were expensive, they broke down, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of back and forth went into the regulators and the design communities with feedback. We meet together. Every time there's new rules and regulations come in, they put it out there for our review and comment because we are the ones who are designing these things. We bring the practicality to it. We tell them what works, what doesn't work. So one hand helps the other. We always work with each other. And the convention, we reached the 80-foot ramp in this region area will meet the requirement of the minimum ADA requirement. Because going back to the other stuff that we have done in Boston and Spectacle Island and all that stuff is too expensive and requires too much maintenance and it doesn't work any better than the 80-foot minimum.
Got it.
The ramps here, 80 feet.
where,
Out here from this
No.
side. With our tidal range and the 80-foot ramp, are there any similar situations in the Boston or North area where we've got this kind of range?
Right.
Can you give us an idea of that?
We've designed the 80-foot and you design the $700,000 barge and ramp and things, all that stuff. And you've done that.
Well, I'm just thinking we would have got an 80-foot ramp, we would have got maybe a 14 or 15 or plus in storm situation
Well,
around here
see,
between low roll.
How many people use the ramp in storm situations?
But the ramp is still there in the winter or in during storm situations.
For emergency access, for management, and all that stuff.
Grade is closed in the winter.
I'm not talking about access to the ramp, I'm talking about the ramp actually functioning.
We actually talked about the ramp and in the storm surge where you have the
We have a vertical rail.
to roll, to raise it up.
Right. The ramp.
That's already been, we've already discussed it.
If you get that very extreme water, you can either pin the ramp down, so you can allow the ramp to
hinge
water, or levitate by putting pontoons underneath it and going up in the raise up. So
Why wouldn't you have the two pilings on either side with the cross beam across and use a chain fall to lift it up like they do in Marblehead?
Because we still need to get down to the exit.
you can
Yeah, I
do
know,
that.
you can lift it up and down. If you had a particularly bad storm surge or a lot of wave action in the harbor, instead of letting the ramp bounce on the float, you just lift it up.
Well, what we were talking, the ramp would be down and it would come up, and then back at the hinge, we talked about having it raised up.
There's a
So
vertical
there's
rail.
a vertical rail that the pin that holds the ramp in place would just slide up in.
I have a detail to show it to you.
I'll show you the picture.
It works.
So you have the
You can do
ramp,
both.
the ramp is
I've done the two piles with the top and then the winch. You can literally push the button and then raise the entire thing and get it over there. You get it above the rail action. But that disengaging the entire process, getting the ramp above it so it's not useful for use anymore. When we review the flood conditions and extreme nor'easters, the surge in the harbor, it reaches just about top of the existing seawall. And the ramp is sitting right at the top. At that point, you can still use the ramp. If that exceeds for any reason by another foot and a half, the ramp literally floats above the water, but is still held in place by the two vertical rails. The pin is locked inside of it.
And it just raises up.
And you can
And
put a
when the tide
plate.
goes out, it goes back down in place.
And you can put a short plate, what we call a curtain plate, so you can step up and still use the ramp for emergency access down to the float. So there's a variety of ways.
Any other questions? All right, Fran, do you have any closing remarks?
Awesome.
All right. And
There
motion
will be another meeting.
Next.
Possibly meeting next week.
next week, 7 o'clock Wednesday night, here? Here, awesome. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Second, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.